All right, we're here at the lathe. Blanks all the bird, ready to go in. We're going to use a collet. This thickness on the original nut is 385 thousandths, somewhere around there. So I'm going to trim it to pretty much the same thing. And to be quite honest with you, it doesn't, I mean, the tolerance here is, you know, plus or minus 10, whatever. The only thing really critical is the internal on the thread itself. So we're going to turn this down. We'll clean one face off. We'll take, I left about a 1/16 on the side, so we'll take about 60 thousandths off each side. Alright, speed this up. We'll run this, let's run this somewhere around 900. Okay, that's about 900, and I want to change my feed because earlier, well, the last thing I did was I threaded this, so I was on 12 pitch. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it out of one position to give me a decent feed. Alright, so that should be pretty good. Got all my tools lined up, my drills, center drills. I put this white rag down here because it makes it a little bit easier for the camera to focus on it. Alright, let's zoom you in. Small is that I don't want to push that in the tails or in the headstock, which sometimes it can with a collet. I'd have a lot better grip on it with a chuck. Alright, let's switch it over. I'm going to put it in low speed to undo it. Measure it, see what we got to take off it. So that's like 510. Yeah, this one must have got must have been a little bit wider. We'll give or take. Obviously the saw wasn't perfectly straight. So if we brought it, we'll take 100 thousandths off that. Be 110 off the other side. Alright. I'm not going to worry about what that thickness is right now because I can always skim it again later. The thing that I do want to make sure is that if I do have to trim the thickness again, it'll be from the other side because this will be now square to the threads that we're going to cut, and I want to make sure that the side going up against the grinding wheel is as square as possible to those threads. Alright, so let's drill the hole. Start with a center drill. Go with a little smaller drill, not the... Now we gotta cut this hole to around 9/16. I'm gonna bore it out because I want a little better finish in there than a 9/16 drill. So I'm going to bore it to drill it to 1/2 inch, and then I'll bore it the rest of the way. Alright, slow this down just a little bit. Alright, so we're going to put the boring bar in. So 9/16 is 562. And we should be pretty close to 5. Roughly square this up. Take a quick measurement just to see what it is. Yeah, we're 5 right on the money. So we got to take about 62 thousandths out of there. So we'll take 2 passes of 30. May go a little bit more than 562. Alright, we clear. That's a nice finish. Let's see what we got. 566. That's good. I'm okay with that. Alright, let's put a chamfer on that. Not a real big one because it's not a very wide nut, so. Good enough. Alright, probably a little fast for that chamfering tool, but it worked. Okay. So now we got to set up the threading tool. I got my little threading boring bar. The way I was always taught to thread is, number one, you're going to set your compound angle at half or a little bit less than half the included angle of the thread. So if you were cutting a 60-degree unified thread, which is traditional, you would set it at 29 degrees. So 29 and a half, somewhere around there. And the reason you do that is because when you will feed in, make your cut with your compound, and you pull away from the thread and move back into position with the cross slide, using this as your zero. So you always take your bite or your cut off your compound, and you can watch how much you're taking. It'll be a direct number based upon how deep you have to go. And the reason for that is you only load one side of the cutter. You get a better thread form. It comes out cleaner, and it doesn't put too much tool pressure on the tool. So we're doing a 29, 14 and a half. 14 would be good, and I'm doing internal, so I would want this put in this direction right here. I cannot do that on this thread form, for the simple fact that my carriage hits the head before I get in deep enough, and I do not want to put this carbide bar out any further than I have to, because too much pressure, I'll snap that carbide bar off. So I'm going to do it the unconventional way, which is I'm going to just leave this wherever, and I'm going to take all my cuts off my cross slide, which is going to put a lot more tool pressure on there. I'll take smaller bites. Okay, so that's how I'm going to set it up. Now, when you set up your tool bit, if you were doing a 60-degree, you would use a fishtail. Okay, that's what they call a fishtail. Now this one has a squaring block on the bottom, and if it was an external thread, you'd put this on the shaft that you're going to thread, and you'd line up your tool bit right in the slot there, and that would make sure that you are square to the shaft that you're threading. On an Acme, you use an Acme one, so you'd line this side up against the shaft, and you'd come up to the side of this with your tool, and you would make sure that it was in line. I can't use either of these tools because obviously I have nothing to reference it off of. So if you look at this bar, when they made it, this side right here is perfectly straight all the way across. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and the thread form is ground square to this side, so I'm going to put a dial indicator on the back side of this and square it up. Take a little bit longer, but it's going to give me a nice true thread form. Alright, so see if you guys can see this on the camera. I'm going to take my smaller Noga. I got the big Noga holding up the camera. And not sponsored, but these Noga dial indicator holders, they are absolutely fabulous. Okay, and I have every other one that you can imagine through the years. This is a Brown & Sharp. This thing sucks. This is an older one, very, very old. This one is, for the little best tests, it's not bad, but the adjustability on it, horrible. The other ones that aren't bad are the Mighty Mags. They're pretty good, but adjustability of very little control over where you're going to put this dial indicator. And for any of you guys that have used the Snake, where you just tighten these up, these are horrible. Okay, I can't stand these. The inside cable stretches and they never tighten up. The Noga's fabulous. Alright, so we're going to put that right on the way. We're going to bring this, make sure that's tight. Bring this down. And I'm just going to square this up with the side of the cutter best I can. Alright, so I can adjust that. Let me move you over here and bring you in tight. Alright, hopefully you can see that. Sometimes you can see this on the camera, sometimes you can't. Let me just adjust it a little bit more. And having a Noga on the camera is really nice too. Alright, I think you guys can see that. Alright, so I'm going to put pressure on that. Set it to 0. And we're going to go back. Alright, so this side's going to come this way. So we're going to take a little pressure off this. Still got to go a little bit more. Yeah, it went too much. Oh, actually, a little bit more. That might have been too much. Nope, still a little bit more. We're getting close now. Just a little bit more. Worth like a couple of thousands. Getting a backlash when you go opposite directions. I'm within a half a thousandths, that's fine. So I'm going to tighten this up. Do it one more time. Come right out to the end. I'm about a half a thousandth. I'm good with that. All right. So I'm going to start with cutting about 30 thousandths. I'm going to go 10, 10. Now I have to reverse this lead screw. I have to start from the inside and come out. And I have to put it in the 12 threads per inch on my half nut speed. Okay. So the only thing I got to move is one. In that position right there. All right. Now we're going to double check. We're going to double check what our things are. So our 12, I need to be in the A position, which is A. Over here, I need to be in C, which I just put it in C. And I need to be in 6. And I was already in 6. The only other thing I have to do is reverse my lead screw because we're doing left hand. Okay. I also want to put the speed down to about 160, so I'm going to put it in G, K, and P. Gauge the half nut, the carriage should go that way, which it is. So we're good. Okay? So we're gonna come in and touch. We're gonna go in further than we need to be. I'm actually gonna put a little line on my ways here, just so I know where I am every time. It's a little too tight to put a carriage stop in there. And we'll take 3 passes at 10 and we'll see what it looks like. Okay? I get it to focus on this over here. It wants to focus on the dial. Right here, there's a dial. And when you turn the lathe on and you engage the half nut, which is on the lead the lead screw, not the carriage feed, it tells you the placement that you engaged on this lead screw. Now, depending on the pitch, sometimes you can go every number, sometimes you can do every number every half, sometimes you have to do odds, evens. It really depends on your lathe. On a 12 pitch, and if you look at this one down here, it'll tell you, and it says 12 pitch, I can do 1 through 4. So I don't have any problems. I don't really have to worry about where I'm engaging. What I do have to do is make sure that this number is on the engagement mark every time. Whether I pick 1, 2, or 3, it has to engage on that engagement mark. If it doesn't, it's going to mess up my thread. Okay, so I'm using a half nut handle, which is this handle right here, versus the carriage feed handle. Okay, and this half nut handle, when you engage it, it locks out the carriage feed. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some way lube up in the half nut just to make sure it's well lubed. All right, I like to do that every time because you don't use it for a long period of time and the oil can drain out. All right, we're set up here. We're going the right direction. We are in the right threads per inch. Now, normally what you would do is you do a scratch pass. You take a very light pass, and then you would take your thread pitch gauges and you would check to make sure that you're doing the right pitch. As you can see on this one, I really can't see in there. I'll give it a shot, but it's tough to see in there. We'll give it a shot. That way we can confirm that we're actually cutting a 12 pitch. Now on something like this, if we messed it up, it really isn't worth much. But if you were cutting, say, a $3,000 pot, which can happen depending on what you're doing, you cut the wrong pitch, you just scrapped it. So, all right, so let's come in. Let's touch off. Now, I'm not used to cutting left-hand threads, so I'm going to have to think about it. Doing a right-hand thread, boom, 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 nice and easy. But I gotta think backwards here. All right, we got everything we need. Let's come in and touch, and we're going to set our 0 on our slide. I want to make sure I'm well off there. Nice if I had a little more light. It's not as, I don't want to say dangerous, but it's not as big as an issue. Normally we would be threading this way, and we're close to our headstock. When I did the other one, I had to come up pretty close to the headstock to do that. I'm going to be threading out, so I don't have to worry about crashing the machine. I just have to make sure I'm engaging. I usually engage a little ways away, just so I know it engaged in the number correctly, because sometimes you just get a funky feel and you want to pull out of that. You want to re-engage. Well, when you're up and back, you don't really have a whole lot of time to do that. All right. All right, feels good. Let's come over here. just see the chips forming on the bar. I'm going to set my 0 on my compound. So every time I come out of this, go back into this hole, I want to make sure I'm at 0. Then I'm going to come back to the measurement I was, depending on how much of a bite I've taken, or how many thousandths I've taken out of this hole. Like I said, we're going to start with 3 passes, 10 thousandths each, 30 thousandths. I do have a mark on this bar, which should put me well within, on the outside of the pot, inside. Put a little bit of cotton oil in here. And one thing I noticed about this 4140 is it tends to get a little sticky on the carbide bar, so every once in a while I come over with a little flat stone and just touch it. It doesn't really touch the bar, it just takes that little welded piece off. This will be 40 thousandths. Way out of the way because I don't want to bump that cutter. And I'm gonna try that rotor. Which I don't think it's gonna, it might start. Need a little bit more room. Yeah. So it's just starting. I'm going to take another 10 and I'm going to check it again. That's not bad at all. All right. So we're about 3/16 from the face of this nut to the end of that reduced area for the threads. Let me screw on the original and we'll see where that one landed. So I'm actually further in than the other one. Yeah, just about the same. Just about the same. So what do we say we take a spring pass? It'll probably just give me just a little bit more. We'll clean up the nose of this. One more pass, a little bit on here, just take a little spring pass, which means we're not going to actually take any more off with the compound or the cross slide. There could be a little flex in the bar. I'm sure there's a little flex in the bar. So by just taking a spring pass, we take the spring out of the tool. Just a little bit more. Not a lot, just a little bit. That's a nice fit. So I get a little bit further than the original nut, so I know I'm going to fully engage that. And it's really a good fit all the way along it. All right, I'm just gonna touch this edge with a file. I'm going to hit that with my chamfering tool just a little bit to take there's a little burr on the side. It did was just knock. I gotta go a little more. Yeah, just knocked it off. I'm gonna flip it around, do the same thing on the other side. Take this out of here so I don't cut myself. I'm going to mock this side because that's the side I threaded from, and I don't want to touch that side anymore. Alright, so I marked it with red marker. I'm going to try and get a much better bite on that. I really want to take about 70 thousandths off that. Alright, so the next operation is going to be to put the slots in here for the spanner wrench. So the next time I see you, we will be at the milling machine. Alright, see you in a little while.